Oh yes, there will be blood. Here's a look at the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series, Major Bludd. The G.I. Joe Classified Series evolves the characters fans know and love into a highly articulated 6-inch scale with premium deco and detailing. This figure features a classic design updated to bring the G.I. Joe ruthless Cobra mercenary into the modern era, plus accessories inspired by the character's rich history. Before we get a closer look at the Dear Major, the first thing we're going to want to do is obviously figure out how tall the figure stands. So I'm going to take the tape measure right to the very top of his head, and I'm going to stop it right around there where his mohawk is. If reading this correctly, Major Bludd from the Classified Series stands 6.2 inches in height. We can switch that over to centimeters, revealing that the figure is almost 16 centimeters, 15.9 to be exact. Now, this review couldn't have been made possible without the kindness of a viewer, Cornelius McGillicuddy, who took the time and sent Major Bludd my way. It was a surprise I really wasn't expecting, so thank you very much, Cornelius, for taking the time and sending this figure my way. Now, for comparisons, we do also have another Cobra mercenary or bounty hunter that we can compare him along to. We'll move over the Major and bring in Zartan. Personal favorite of mine, actually, from the G.I. Joe Classified Series. What I do like that's happening here is that you're not getting the same figures with the same heights and same builds. Clearly, as you can see here, Zartan not only is taller than Major Bludd, but it seems like he's a lot more muscular as well. Looking at the accessories to come include with Major Bludd, he comes with a fair bit, actually. Some are throwbacks, in fact, to the original G.I. Joe The Real American Heroes series. Let's start first with a backpack. The backpack, as you can see, seems like there's some slotted areas that should be housing something. Well, they do. Hold on for that. We'll get into that in a second. So nice detailing done to the molded of the black plastic. You can see when you flip it around to the back side there, it's a finished piece too. It's not hollow, as sometimes we've seen with other backpacks for G.I. Joe figures. There's also a little hole located here on the side that serves a purpose. We'll get to that in a second. But we can go ahead and take the backpack. This seems like a good starting point. Take the figure and spin it around and locate it on the back on a smaller sized peg hole. Just line up the peg to the peg hole. You guys are very smart, you know how this works. And just make sure it fits in place. Now, one thing you will want to be careful of, and actually it works well that this instance happened, is that he does have an armor piece that goes over top of his torso. If misaligned just slightly, you'll find that there's a little, you can probably see it right there, there's a little lip of plastic that forms underneath it. Anyways, if you line up everything accordingly, you can go ahead and pop Major Bludd's backpack into his back, and you're pretty much good to go from there. Put the figure down here for just 1 second. Let's have a look at the other accessories that come included with him. He comes with a traditional-looking blaster, something you would certainly expect to see Major Bludd have not only the original cartoon series, but also the original vintage figure as well. Effectively molded here in, again, black plastic. There's no real additional paint added to it, but I don't feel like there needs to be paint either. There's also a peg that's located here on the side, and that, I can assure you, does serve a purpose. You'll also see at the very end of the barrel there's an open hole. Well, to come also included with Major Bludd, he comes with a couple of rockets, little firing missiles. Not literally firing, but you can take the missile and you can attach it to the very end of the gun, just sliding it into the barrel like that. Personally, I find it's a little overkill. It takes what I thought was already a pretty cool looking blaster and feel like it makes it excessively longer than it needs to be. I guess the idea is this is supposed to fire off from the gun, but I don't know, I don't think I would attach realism to this. Not that I would attach realism anyways to a gun that would normally fire blue lasers in the cartoon. Anyways, you can go ahead, just detach that. You can also take these missiles. Remember that backpack that we looked at? I'd hope so, if you had unless you had short-term memory. You can go ahead and take the missiles, you get 2 of them, and you fit them into those little canals, just like that. There's one, and we can do the other one, providing I can actually find it. There's the other one. We'll just plug those into place. And you've got a nice little storage place for them to house, providing, of course, you don't drop it. There we go. You really got to make sure that you've got these in wedged far enough in. There we go. All right, as I was saying, at least there's a nice place where you can keep some storage going for them. Of course, when you're not deciding to display them on the end of the gun, which I think is kind of crazy. You can also take that gun, remember that peg we were talking about? And the peg fits just to the side of the backpack. Again, everything is nicely stored on this figure. Well, we were also talking about his accessories. I guess I can currently hold the figure for that. He also comes with a rather tricked out looking revolver. It's not something that the original Major Bludd would have had, and yet I still really appreciate the fact that they gave him something more modern. It's nice periodically to, of course, give us the more retro-looking designed figure accessories, but every once in a while it's nice that they also throw something in there as well, something we haven't seen before. I have certainly not seen this type of gun before. Does it still fire a laser? I don't know. Maybe it does. It's got some nice silver there on the barrel end of things. And you can see on the other side there as well. You can, of course, take any one of those guns that we just, well, this one and this one can fit in either one of his hands. There is also a holster located here on the side. Just bring his arm up like this, and you can go ahead and fit that down into the side holster. Just like that. It seems to have a friction to it when you are trying to slide that in there, but eventually you'll get it in there, and a nice little storage place to have displayed with the figure. I think personally, when it comes to displaying Major Bludd, I'm going to likely do this. I'm not going to drop that missile, which just now popped off his backpack, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have him displayed with this gun. It's just more classic for me. The other place I kind of wish that these missiles could have attached to, I guess for this I'll go ahead and remove the last one, is I wish there was some place on his mechanized arm where you could have attached the missile. Right? Right? That would have been nice. Just a little peg or something there that you could have attached it, looking as if he could fire this off. There is obviously no place on his arm that can do that. There is like this little place right here that I thought maybe the end of the missile could attach to, but that doesn't seem to be the case. You can see it doesn't seem like it serves a purpose, or if there is a purpose, it's one that I'm certainly missing. Then, of course, we can talk a little bit about his head, and for this, of course, we can bring in a couple of other accessories. Starting first, his stock head sculpt, minus the helmet. You can see instead of going with the patch that traditional Major Bludd would have had, they instead swap it out for sort of a cybernetic eyepiece. That looks like something that would have come from the Borg. You can see underneath this is like a star-shaped scarring. And boy, does that ever look great. It looks a lot better than I'm sure it would have felt when Major Bludd first got it. The head sculpt, like I said, is really good on this. It's traditional Major Bludd, and yet it's still modernized. He does have the longer mustache, as you can see. It almost kind of comes across in a way that he's missing a few teeth. It might have just been the way that it was so closely sculpted to the mustache there. Of course, he does have the mohawk there along the top there as well. Coloring on this guy's skin is pretty pale, but I guess that works quite well for a character like Major Bludd. Okay, let's talk about his other accessories. He comes included with a pair of dog tags. Not so much a pair, I suppose, as a grouping. A bushel of name tags? That's not right. Anyways, he comes included with a whole bunch of dog tags. It looks like there's several chains just attached together, but they're all molded essentially to one mold, so you can't really take them apart. Put that over top of his head. I do like at least that you could have either decided for yourself to leave this off, or you can put it onto the figure. And then from there, of course, the finishing touches, the thing that really does make him true Major Bludd, is this Widow's Peak helmet that he has. If it was socially acceptable, I think I would try to pass myself off of wearing one of these helmets. I think I really always liked the design of it. But to go ahead, we can finish things off and just fit this over top of his head. I like to have it somewhat as low as I possibly can get it. And boy, does that ever give you a finished looking Bludd. Again, the benefit of these figures having removable accessories or accessories that can be stored is if you do want to really take the helmet off, they could have easily just sculpted Major Bludd with the helmet already intact. But the fact that they gave it the option, they gave you the option of being able to remove the helmet is a nice touch. Of course, I'm not going to remove the helmet. Mohawk nice or not, I think I really prefer to have Major Bludd displayed with his helmet, just because that, to me, looks so much more like the character. So let's get in there and get a closer look at Major Bludd. Of course, underneath all this, he's got himself his brown outfit, but then over top of it, all the armor pieces, as you can see, are all just jet black. It's not even so much a shiny jet black, it's more of a matte finish. And of course, the one calling card of Major Bludd is the fact he does have the robotic arm here on the side. You can see that there's also a labeling here that says M. It doesn't say M, it's just the letter M, but that's printed along the top there as well. Again, I really like the look of the modern take of Major Bludd's arm. It's a little bit slender than this arm right here, and it definitely looks like it's made of components, like it's a whole bunch of pieces put together. Still not really sure what specifically this slot here is for. I thought, again, it could have started with being the missile, realizing it wasn't meant for the missile. Just, again, not really sure what this part is for his arm. But I do like the detailing on it. Could it have used an additional wash? Maybe. But it doesn't necessarily take away from the figure. In fact, going the matte route, I don't really think it needs all the extra color. Major Bludd is known for having, like, dark brown outfit with, of course, the armor over top of it. And I think it works quite well for the character. Mind you, there is some additional coloring here as we get a little bit further down and looking at his belt here. Not only have you got the belt buckle here in silver, but also got these couple of canisters there on the front. I don't know if those are gas canisters or ammunition of some sort, but he's got a couple little silver tubes that are attached to the front of his belt. Not removable, by the way. I do like the material that they went with. Not that they used the material, but I do like the texturing to give you the look that at least it's a material. You got the more dark gunmetal gray coloring there for his knee pads. And then as you get a little bit further down, a brighter color to that slight lighter shade of that same gunmetal gray he gets on the front plates of his boots and the ends of his shoes as well. Spin the figure around so the back you can see it. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead. Take the backpack off again so you can see the back detailing on the figure. I must say I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Zartan would have been my #1, but certainly when it comes to Major Bludd would have, I would have thought, would have worked well for a classified series figure. Now, finally getting a Major Bludd in hand, which at one point was a harder figure to come by. I remember people were scooping this guy up and trying to sell him at crazy prices on eBay. Now, of course, the dust has settled, and Major Bludd is a little bit more common for people to be able to pick up. Now, I have one issue with the figure, and this more or less goes to the articulation. I do want to stress, let's go ahead and take the gun out of his hand before I start stressing about anything. I do want to stress that it may only potentially be this figure that I have in my hand right now. He's really loose. He's loose more so in the abdomen area than anywhere else. There may be some places, like the shoulder's a little loose on the top here, but that's certainly something that I could live with. This, on the other hand, I'm not really sure why he has to be so loose for a figure I just took out of the packaging. You can't even say, really, it's mold degradation, where they've just used this mold too many times before. There definitely seems to be something loose happening here with the lower half of him. I may try to see if I can take this apart. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm not going to take this apart. But I'm just going to have to live with the fact he's got dinner bell lower legs. Dinner, guys. Dinner. Speaking of the articulation here on Major Bludd, his head rotates all the way around. Yes, while you are rotating, a couple things will happen. You'll pull along for the ride, the dog tags, and you'll also probably inadvertently start removing the helmet. It may help to actually just put the figure in the pose that you want to put him in, and then put the helmet back on. As for his arms hinge out. One side seems to hinge a little bit better than the other. There we go, just a little bit tighter. The shoulder pad, surprisingly enough, despite for its size, you would think that would get in the way of things. It only moderately limits the little bit of hinge that his shoulder would be able to pull off. But then you can also be able to move the arms forward and back. He has a swivel on the bicep. That would be the same on both his human arm and his mechanized arm. He does have a double hinge on the elbow, again on this arm and on this arm. And he does also have the hand articulation. Don't worry, I'm not going to go over there. You get the idea. Upper torso, while it does click, don't worry, I won't do that the entire review. You can lock it fine and good if it looks like Major Bludd's kind of got shot and got thrown back. But still, he has the loose issue with the lower torso. That's such a shame. He does have a waist swivel. You can move that back and forth. Legs split out. And you can see as I'm moving the legs, the holster does a fine enough job of shifting along with the trip. So you don't have to worry about those as much. Legs go forward, legs go back. As you are periodically moving the figure's lower half, you may adjust the belt from time to time. And you may also want to bring those legs up. These legs are intended to be dropped down just to give a little extra clearance if you want to go with those higher kicks on Major Bludd. And then from there, you just go ahead and pop that back up like this. 3/4 of the way up the thigh, you got yourself a swivel. That swivels all the way around. He has a double hinge on the knee. Then when it gets to his feet, he's got lower foot articulation, or I guess high at the top on his boot. That rotates all the way around. And then when it comes to his feet, you can move them back and forth, and you can also ankle pivot them as well. I don't think there's anything, honestly, I would have changed to Major Bludd here. He has just the right amount of blood going for him. No, not that he's actually stealing blood. Maybe he does, I don't know. Maybe that's where he got his name from. But I really like this figure. There's not really anything I would have done differently to him. And again, actually, you know what? Again, just moving this one over, bring in Zartan. The very fact that they are using different bodies is a nice touch on Hasbro's part. Though, unlike Zartan, who, getting him out of the packaging, he had tight joints from head to toe. Sadly, though, Major Bludd has a little bit more of a loose dinner bell thing happening for his lower half. Not really sure why that's the case, because as far as I know, I don't think this mold has been used with any other G.I. Joe Classified Series figure release. So that seems a little puzzling to me. In this review, we took a trip to Cobra Island, and one of the souvenirs we walked away with was a really nice looking Major Bludd. Although I haven't really picked up enough of these G.I. Joe Classified Series, sort of starting my journey first with that initial wave, and then after that, I was able to get myself a Zartan. Adding now Major Bludd to the mix, I'm more tempted than anything to go back and start picking up the other classified figures that I never got the chance to pick up before. Luckily, though, if people are interested in getting the Major Bludd, some good news, though, is you don't have to go on the eBay and pay the ridiculous prices. I can't believe, I think some people were trying to sell Major Bludd in its initial release for about $1,000. I know that sounds a little strange, but luckily Major Bludd is a little bit more accessible now, short of you actually going to Cobra Island and short of you actually getting a souvenir. I don't know what kind of tour you would get at Cobra Island. This is our fleet of Hiss tanks. Oh, over here you'll see all our selection of fangs. May I recommend that over here you check out Destro's barbecue sauce stand. That would be an interesting tour. But at least if you are interested in picking up Major Bludd, as far as I know, he is a little bit more accessible. Certainly it's not accessible here in Canada. We're still not getting any of these G.I. Joe Classified Series figures, which is a real shame. But luckily for me, at least, a very kind viewer, Cornelius McGillicuddy, I'm only going to just assume that that is his real name, took the time, picked this one up, along with actually a Masters of the Universe set that we will be looking at in an upcoming review, but took the time and sent Major Bludd my way. And again, thank you so much, Cornelius, for doing that. It saved me having to try to track this guy down online. I know the availability on Major Bludd is a little bit better than what it was before, but I didn't want to have to go on eBay. And you really did save the day. Thank you very much, Cornelius. By the way, if you are interested in checking out the Cobra Island tour, let me know. Just give me a ring-a-ling, and I guess, I don't know, we could go in on the cost together. Maybe pick up a few t-shirts while we're there as well. Destro's barbecue sauce. I would imagine that would be rather tangy. What do you guys think, though, of the Classified Series Major Bludd? Have you picked up the figure for yourself, or just based on this review? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you guys are also new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the bell notification on. And that, yes, you're making sure as well that you're coming back to this channel regularly, because we may or may not be looking at more G.I. Joe Classified Series. Who am I kidding? We probably will be looking at more G.I. Joe Classified Series as I try to track down the remaining figures that I missed out on. A tour of Cobra Island. Sign me up. Lots of stuff coming your way, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.